All right. Today I was planning, and we could get to this. I was planning to talk about something that occurred to me about, just a minute, let's see. Interesting. It was okay. It had to do with the fact that using the one rule, it takes care of just about everything in terms of creating harmony with the kids, and making things easier in your life. And that was going to be the topic for today. Something has come up which is kind of taking my mind and energy, and I don't know why this hasn't come to me before, but I was figuring out that I got my business license, let's see, about 11 years ago, but I have never launched this as a business, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'll put together, because I have lots of things available, trainings, ebooks. I'm adding coaching, which I seem to do well. And anyway, I will be putting that out there for everyone. Never thought of it before, even though anyway. So in terms of the one rule, I guess the first thing to do is to start the introductory screen share. The computer is going slowly, kind of like me this morning, I guess. Welcome to Raising Happy Kids Zoom Show, episode 27. Using the one rule creates harmony with kids. During this 1 hour Zoom show, I focus on sharing tips and lessons on the one rule to raising happy kids. Each episode has at least one example of the one rule in action, demonstrating how it helps you raise a happy child. Then we have Q&A and discussion. That's when I have guests. When I talk about raising happy kids or creating harmony with kids, I bring up the one rule. The one rule equals agreement. Agreement equals harmony. Using the one rule means you find agreement. That's the rule. You find a solution that everyone likes. You've found agreement. You've found harmony. Knowing and following the one rule is all you really need to create harmony between you and your kids. In any situation where there are differences that might lead to conflict between you and your kids, use the one rule. I learned this strategy from 3-year-old children. I was teaching them a complex conflict resolution strategy, actually intended for adults, and they taught me this. So don't think you're in for a rough time. It's simple, it's easy, it's powerful and effective. It works if you use it. I'm glad you're here. Now let's have Q&A and discussion. That's what I would have for some time that I have guests. Okay. I'm stopping the screen share. I guess I would like to go over, since I did put that as the title, some of the ideas that came. Let's see if I can find that here. Let's see. My computer says that's not responding. Okay. Okay. As many of you probably know already, during all the years that I worked with children directly, I had either found or created 108 respect tools, skills, and strategies for most of my time working. In fact, for all the time that I was working with children, my theme, I guess you could call it, was respect. That was what was required to have a good relationship with children. And the usual way of respect in those days, and perhaps these days, was that children were expected to be respectful to the adults in their lives. My way was different than that. In fact, it was pretty much the opposite. Because I discovered that if I were respectful to the children, then they automatically became respectful to me. I didn't have to ask for it or expect it or anything. I just had to give it to them. So anyway, at one point I figured out that there were 108 respect tools, skills, and strategies that I had used. And this was a number of years ago, not very many, but at least 2 or 3 years ago now. I was thinking one evening, do people really have to learn all of these to be able to have a good relationship with their children, to raise happy children? And the idea came to me. I was thinking about one of the strategies that I taught, and there was a step in that strategy where you eliminate all the ideas that somebody in the situation doesn't like. They get crossed off and they are not usable because that wouldn't be respectful to that person. Anyway, so I was thinking about that, and I asked myself the question, and there are some of you that know this, what is the least that anyone would have to know? And at first, I came up with something that I called harmonized fast formula. There are 3 steps to that. It is part of the training on the One Rule. I will be putting that out as part of the launch process. And so anyway, I created that. But at another point later on, I asked myself the same question. What is the least that somebody has to know and do to create harmony with their kids? Because even though in my original book, and you'll find out more about that during this launch process also, I used the concept of harmony because that was what I was doing. Even though it wasn't my focus, the power of respect was my focus. But now the creation of harmony is the strongest concept right now. So for some reason, and I don't remember what brought this on, but I asked myself that same question about what is the least. And that's when what I call the One Rule got revealed to me, that there really is only one thing you need to know and do and commit to. And that is to find agreement with your children. Now, I had always thought of this, not always, but since I've been working with this, I've thought of it as a mutual thing. And it is, it needs to be, it has to be. You have to agree with what goes on, and they have to agree with what goes on. And agreement needs to come, it needs to be genuine. It needs to be, yes, this is really fine with me. I like this. solution. The solution works for me. Not, oh, well, I guess so, if it has to be. Okay, so one of the things that has come to me since I wrote the book. First, I created the training, then I wrote the book and put them together. This is on the one rule. It's called the one rule to raising happy kids. So, okay, but after that, after I already wrote the book, a new idea came to me because I was thinking in terms of 2-year-olds, which is one of my specialties, is creating harmony with 2-year-olds. Very, very important, critical time in their life. Can make a huge difference in terms of everything else that goes on, positive or negative. I know this from my own life and the work I've had to do to shift things to the way I would like them to be. It's still in process, but I'm getting much better at it. Anyway, okay, with 2-year-olds, there's a certain way you go about. You can use the one rule, not in the way you would use it with older children, but you can. And so then, as I was thinking about it, I was thinking, well, you would do the same thing with babies too. And babies, it gives you, once your child's born, it gives you, let's say, about 3 years to master this. And then I've been thinking since then, the way I had been sharing about using the one rule with kids older than 3 was you would introduce it to them using their 3 statements. Okay, you would tell them that we're gonna, whatever, let's say some issue comes up, and you would tell them we're gonna solve this in a way that you like and that I like. And then you would point out that we're both important. This is just, let's say, between you and your child. We're both important. You're important and I'm important, or I'm important and you're important. Doesn't matter which way you go, different people will feel comfortable with one or the other. We each deserve to have things go well for us, to do what we like, and we're going to find a way to do this. And then find a way. With children, I have discovered, in fact, they're the ones that taught this to me. I have discovered that they can very quickly find a solution that whoever's involved really feels good about. So with adults, it can be harder and longer because they haven't programmed themselves this way, and generally. But okay, so that was how I suggested introducing it, or partly. I mean, anyway, it's written up in the training and the book. But then I had to revise the book because with babies, of course, you're not going to be introducing it that way. And even if you just start when you're starting with a 2-year-old, you're not going to introduce it that way. In those cases, you are going to be the one who starts the process. And you are going to do that by finding harmony with whatever it is they are needing or wanting. My experience with young children like that, with babies and lots of young children, even older than the 2.5 I'm talking about, they are true. What they need and what they want is a true thing. They just are who they are. And so it gives you a chance to get a lot of practice. And I have come to think that even though the other way of introducing this works, it's how it evolved, and it's what I did, and it works fine. But this way, okay, one of the things that I teach is that adults are the models, and I just suddenly had a thought. Okay. Oh, good. All right. Adults are the models. So here is like a built-in ideal way to master this ability that you are going to share. And as I discovered with the concept of the power of respect, when you put it out to the children, when that's how you are being the model, not maybe not knowingly, but you are, and they take that on and make it part of at least how they relate to you. But my experience was that it's how they relate, if that is a strong thing in their lives. So here, I think it would be as helpful, if not more helpful, for you to at least practice a little while coming into harmony, seeing, like, it could be before you could introduce it right away. As I say, I did. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but that's what I did. And you can do that, and it works fine. And in some ways, it might be of greater benefit, especially for a parent, an adult who is not used to relating with kids this way, because you will get good results, and those good results are going to help you do this more and more, because it feels good to everyone and the outcomes are good for everyone. And you'll be able to see positive things in your life and the life of your child, or the lives of your children. So that is a good way to go about it. But if you can, and if you're interested, it's also beneficial to use, before you introduce it, to get practiced at it a little bit yourself. Anyway, once I wrote the book, I had to rewrite and add to the training and the book these ideas in terms of relating to babies and 2-year-olds. So those are in there now. But since then, I've had this other thought that it might be beneficial in terms of anyone, because chances are it's going to be a unique idea, even though I've also come to realize that people use this all the time. You use it inside yourself when you you make a decision. Hopefully, usually your decisions are, there's not like a tug of war going on inside of you, that you make a decision because that makes sense to you. Everything kind of fits together, lines up. And so you make that decision. So you are coming to agreement inside of yourself with the different ideas you might have on the situation. And you're going to come up with one that seems to work best. So in that case, you are using what I would call the one rule. And the same is true when you're finding agreement with anyone else in your life. That's what you're doing. That it's nothing more than that. It's just that a lot of people don't think in terms of doing this with young children. Young children very often are told what to do or what not to do. So you can practice, like, let's say any issue comes up, you can check inside yourself, think about it, see if there's any way that you can come to an agreement inside yourself with what your child wants. Now, with babies, you're going to have to do this because they're not going to be able to accommodate you. With 2-year-olds, that's the time when they can begin. Well, you've seen, okay, I'm going to go back to babies, right? Like how often you won't want them to go for something. And once they want to go for it, as long as it's a possibility, they'll keep doing it. Even if somebody like slaps their hand or whatever, which happens unfortunately, they will keep trying to get whatever it is that's attracted them. Okay, so, and with 2-year-olds, it's even more intense. That's why people have trouble with them, because they are developing their willpower, among other things. And so when they want something, once they get into being determined to get it, it can be very intense to go up against that. If you catch it before they become determined, once they just like light on it and you notice, oh no, I didn't want that, then you can redirect them to other things easily. Otherwise, you can. I mean, they're small. You can pick them up and go in another room or whatever, but you might have a little bit of a struggle. So once they are determined, if you can check inside yourself, don't automatically assume that whatever it is you're not going to want them to do. See, is there some way that it might work for them and you? So that's something that you can do. Even if you're starting with a teenager, you can think inside yourself before you even bring it up to them. If you like, you can do this. Is there some way that what they want could work for me too? Because that's the only thing about the one rule. It doesn't have to take any particular outer form. The only thing it takes is finding a solution that the people involved feel good about and so agree to. One thought that comes up is that sometimes people will agree to something and realize when they're in the middle of it that this doesn't feel agreeable at all. Now, I would highly recommend then that things shift and you find something that is agreeable still. Because the idea is not to get stuck in the form. The idea is to create harmony between yourselves so that everybody is taken into account. Everybody is given the importance. And nobody is, no matter how their needs appear to another person, those needs are taken into account and honored. And if you think about it, you can see how good this can be for everyone. One thing that had occurred to me was that if you take on the commitment to using the one rule, you don't, and this goes back to what is the least that people need to know and do to create harmony with kids or to raise a happy child. And the least was that to commit to finding agreement with your kids. It was the thinking was that that okay, before when I was teaching the power of respect, I had there was thinking respectfully about people. There were ways of talking with them respectfully. There were ways of treating them respectfully, into the actions. And, but with the one rule, all you need to do is commit to this finding agreement that really you feel good about and they feel good about. That is the one thing. You don't have to know how to speak respectfully. You don't have to think about what does respect mean, or anything, what anything means. You don't have to practice being kind. You don't have to consider being fair. You know, lots of things you don't have to do. All you have to do is follow the rule. This rule kind of, it's like it floated to the surface of all the years of working and actually creating harmony with kids of all ages. Yeah. This floated to the surface as like a gift to share with everybody. This one simple thing, and especially between parents and children, or even grandparents and grandchildren, because the love is there so strong, it makes following this rule very easy. It seems to be a natural thing, because when I did this with children at Children's House, like 3-year-old children, 4-year-old children, they very quickly found agreement, very quickly. So it almost seems like it's really built into us once we give it a place in our lives, once we start to live it and act it, because they had no resistance to doing this. It was like fun, enjoyable. Like, of course, what else? We get along, right? We're friends, we have fun. So here it is to do the work. It does most of the work, because even though you may not ever know the 108 tools, skills, and strategies, there are things in your life that finding agreement, they're going to pull up for you, your very own tools, skills, and strategies. the tools I've always thought of are like a hammer is a tool, and a skill is how you use it, and a strategy is when and how you use it. So there are things in your life that will help in terms of sticking to the rule, finding mutual agreement, true agreement, not agreeing because you have to, but agreeing because you want to. Okay, now one other thing that I thought of bringing up, because most of you probably don't know this, and that is that there is another issue. That's the word. There is another issue of the magazine. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to go through it briefly with you now. Okay, let's see. I'm going to do another screen share. Okay. Okay. Theoretically, yes, it says you're screen sharing, so you should be able to see this. This was issued on the last day of January, so it did get out on January. There's an interview of Mr. One Rule, which I really enjoy, by Batul Kasmi. There's the training, Harmonized with Kids, that I mentioned. The 3 levels are in there. There's a quiz in terms of relating with 2-year-olds. There's an article on positive respect and turning conflict into harmony. Let's see. There were a couple of responses from the last issue. And so they're in here. A little article on having kids always feel loved, and harmony between adults and kids. There's the harmonized fast formula, harmonized with kids, 3 levels, and talking about kids' work, developmental blueprint, adults first, which I did mention here. Why? And this is some of the prime of the power of respect, which got shifted to positive respect. Just in name, it's still the same thing. And this is harmony in your parenting. And this is harmony with 2-year-olds. There's the quizzes in there, and also the concept of making choices. Oh, there's the harmonized fast formula. Oh, and one of the stories, I don't know, some of you may have heard it, The Bully and the Guardians. That's in here. And I got asked some questions and they get answered here in this. Here are the letters from readers, or actually messages from readers. In the old days, maybe it would have been letters. Here is kind of a letter from Brian, who's been involved in all of this. I really if you look at my earlier videos, let's see what that was. Karen Rice's Family Zoom Station. I don't know if you know, but I have a YouTube channel. So if you look at those, he comes to a lot of them. And also, there's a book he wrote that you can get. Here's the very enjoyable interview with Mr. One Rule. There's if you want me to coach you. Or you can get the latest book that I mentioned, that also has the training for the One Rule in it. Here's the article on kids feeling loved, on creating harmony between adults and kids, but learning about the cause of harmony, the root cause. This is if you are a trainer and need clock hours for your licensing. This is talking about kids' work and the developmental blueprint, the importance of adults being first in terms of being the examples. A little bit about positive respect, or the power of respect. And even there you'll see, let's see, let me show you. These three things were each important. We each deserve to have what we want. And in this case, since it was in the time of power of respect and positive respect, we use positive respect to help this happen. But this was the core, considered a core belief of the positive respect mindset. Because actually those three things, when I first introduced, well, as I said, I was teaching them conflict resolution strategy, actually intended for adults. And they weren't getting it. So that's when I came up, it just came up within me. So a lot of the things, well, at least three of the very important things that I consider and critical foundations in the creation of all of this have come to me, like the root cause of trouble between parents and kids, but adults in general and kids. That came to me as sort of a revelation. Those three statements came to me when I was sharing the need to find a solution that they both liked, whoever I was working with. And I didn't have to do this very many times. it, I've often thought of the concept. I don't know that much about it, but I've heard of it. The concept of the 100th monkey, when all of a sudden something that one that other monkeys figured out, and once the 100th monkey, and I don't know if that's an actual thing, or anyway, I think it is, that all of a sudden it spontaneously happens that monkeys can do this thing, whatever it is. Well, this finding a harmonious solution, it only took a few times of demonstrating it with certain children, not to anybody else, but to them. And after that, it just wasn't an issue. They just found harmony with each other. So that's another reason I think that it's really the natural way of us. This is modeling for your children. Here's the quiz, and us talking about making choices with 2-year-olds. Here's the training that's available. Here's the harmonized fast formula. You get the actual, that part of the training, I think. And here's the bully and the guardian. Cave of the heart. The answers to the questions. And the end of the magazine. Okay. Well, I want to thank you for being here. I hope you got something valuable from this. I wish you all a great week.